What's going on, guys? This is Luke22SV here, back with the 19th round of Season 2 for the Mick Schumacher career mode. Here for the Mexican Grand Prix, jumping straight into qualifying here around the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit. And we're driving around to start our second run here now after a bad week in USA, where we retired on lap 1. A huge result for Charles Leclerc in terms of the driver standings. He now gained 25 points on us after we gained 25 points on him in Japan. So the gap's really not changed too much since Russia. We have to make sure we got to do our best job in the last 3 races of the season, and that's why we're going on our second run here in Mexico, hoping to get pole position, which could be an all-important result going on to the start of this race. We do not know how these last 3 races are going to go, so we've got to make sure that we get this really spot on this weekend. And we're coming around and we're purple in Sector 1, so this is already an improved lap time of our previous lap. And now coming through to Sector 2 and Sector 3, which is where we went wrong on this first lap. And now we can really focus on getting this. And hopefully, if Charles Leclerc has a bad weekend again, we can really profit from that. And now we're coming through these next tight and twisty sections of this track. Basically, this track was once a really very fast track around the last part of the track, but Herman Tilke ruined it, and now it's a bit of a slow end to the lap. And now we come around the stadium section, and now this is the tight and twisty little end to the track. Now we're just going to come around the last corner and see how we do on this lap, and then we're going to come across the line. And is it going to be good enough for a pole position? It looks very good indeed, and indeed we go into provisional pole. We're going to end the session with that, and that's see where that puts us on the grid. And we're in P1 and Vettel's P2, and down in 10th place is Charles Leclerc. So he's had a nightmare in qualifying, definitely not what he needed to do. He needed to finish ahead of us to keep his championship hopes alive. So now we got a good opportunity to gain an advantage on Charles Leclerc heading into the race then for the Mexican Grand Prix. Hulkenberg P4 and then Raikkonen P5. So we head into the race then for the Mexican Grand Prix, and hopefully we can profit from this, because that's 24 points we'll be gaining if the results stayed how they are in qualifying. It's 24 points we're going to be gaining over Charles Leclerc, but we'd expect him to gain positions in the race, so we're going to have to watch out for him coming through the pack. So we go on to the starting grid then for the Mexican Grand Prix, and let's see how the grid lines up. If there's any penalties as well, we see ourselves in P1 alongside Sebastian Vettel in P2, and then we got Hulkenberg in P4 with Ricciardo in P3. Now we move down to the rest of the grid. We've got Raikkonen and Hamilton on row 3, Sainz and Perez on row 4, then Ocon and Leclerc on row 5. So Leclerc's got his work to do then. Then Bottas, Verstappen, Magnussen, Grosjean, Hartley, Gasly, and then Lance Stroll and Sergei Sorokin. Both from McLaren's on the last row of the grid, so a nightmare performance in qualifying. Alonso's got a grid penalty as well. So we head on then into the race then for the Mexican Grand Prix, with the 5 red lights will be coming out, and we'll be starting this race. And we know how difficult the starts are for us in this career mode, because AI are so much better, but with lights down, away we go. And it's a fairly sluggish start, and Vettel's alongside us already as we get on the long run down into turn 1. So it's not a short run down, it's a very long run down into turn 1. And we've actually managed to get a bit of acceleration there, and we're still leading this race as we head into turn 1. Vettel's on the inside, and we see him there, we keep him behind us, and we go through the next couple of chicanes, and we lead this race then after turn 1. We have not lost any positions off the start, and that's a perfect scenario for us. We just have to wonder how our teammate's doing down there in P10. Has he gained any positions? Has he lost any positions? And that's a vital performance now we got to check out as we come round to start these next few corners as well. On lap 1 then, we lead the race from Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo in P3. Now we just got to try and focus on pushing this gap then and keeping this lead. We do not want to lose these positions to Vettel. It's a long straight here, so it's perfect opportunities for overtaking. We need to get out of that DRS activation zone as quickly as possible and get out of that 2-second gap towards Sebastian Vettel, which will really make us comfortable in this race. But at the moment, it's only a couple tenths to him, and now we've got to have a look at the start as we come across the line then in just a moment's time. And we'll be leading the race after lap 1, which is something that hasn't really happened at all in this season. But we're going to check out the replay of the start of this race to see where Leclerc has got to at this point as well. Vettel is now closing in on us as we head on to the first corner of this lap. And Vettel, is he going to be able to make an overtaking opportunity into turn 1? He's got a nice little toe on us, but it looks like he's too far back as we head into turn 1. We lead the race then, and we still have Vettel behind us. Now we've got to focus on trying to build that gap, and whether we can build that gap or whether Vettel's pace is stronger than ours. But here's the replay of the start. We've got a fairly sluggish start, but once we started accelerating, once we actually got into the top speed, we ended up pulling away from the rest of the pack, and we've got the best engine pretty much at the moment. We're heading to turn 1. There's almost 4 abreast there with Vettel trying to get a move down the inside into turn 1, but he doesn't make it happen. We managed to keep ahead of him as the Renault of Hulkenberg going wheel to wheel with Daniel Ricciardo, and then you can see my teammate just in the background. So has he gained positions perhaps on one of the Force Indias? It looks like he's perhaps gained on Esteban Ocon. He gained straight away on the start. Here's the on board of him, gained straight on the Esteban Ocon it is, and then he's got a nice toe on Sergio Perez, and he's closing in on Carlos Sainz as well. So he's already gained to 1 position here, so he's P9. Now he's braking, almost running straight into the back of Sergio Perez into turn 1, but now he's 3 abreast with Carlos Sainz on the left and Sergio Perez on the right, and perhaps he looks like he's got past both of them. No, he's got past Sergio Perez, so he's now up to P8, and now it looks like he's going to get past Carlos Sainz too, so he's gained 3 places then off the start as he gained past Carlos Sainz, and Carlos Sainz fights back into the next corner, but looks like Leclerc's got the racing line to take P7 away from Carlos Sainz. So Leclerc has already gained 3 places then, although Sainz is fighting back again, so he's not really letting Leclerc go. But coming through the next corner, it looks like Leclerc is going to be able to keep hold of P7, and now Leclerc has gained 3 places off the start. So Leclerc's done everything he needed to do on lap 1, and now we've got to watch out for him trying to overtake the rest of the pack and getting towards us. Now we move on to lap 3, and we're still leading this race then from Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo in P3. But at the moment we just haven't been able to build a gap, and you still see a proximity arrow there. That is Sebastian Vettel still behind us, so we haven't been able to gain anything from him yet. As we come around the next few corners, we do not know what the championship gap is, but we're definitely gaining on Charles Leclerc, which is all we need to do. So we could have the opportunity to go into Brazil with the title going towards us if we do well in Brazil. But right now our focus is on this race in Mexico. We're checking out where our teammate is, and in doing that we actually run a bit wide, and that's cost us a bit of time. So now Sebastian Vettel's closing in on us. Now he's going to be really hungry to overtake us and take P1 away from us. As if you get that start of that section wrong, the whole section's going to go wrong for you. And now Vettel and Ricciardo both very hungry to overtake us as we come around to the final part of this lap. And we're going to get onto the DRS straight, which is going to be a perfect opportunity to force Sebastian Vettel to overtake us perhaps, or even Daniel Ricciardo. We're all coming around this corner now, but there's a bit of a train behind us now. I think you can see Nico Hulkenberg just in the background too, and Lewis Hamilton just about drifting away from this battle. But Sebastian Vettel, he's got DRS. Is he close enough to overtake us? He's going to the outside perhaps. He's just about got enough room to get to the outside, but we're still too fast. Our engine is too good for these guys behind us. So still leading this way, still leading the race then after lap 4, and now for Sebastian Vettel is close, and he's still be looking to get past us in these next few laps, and we just need to try and keep him behind us as long as possible, because we do need to gain as many points as possible. And here's the on-board then of Charles Leclerc. He's now right behind Kimi Raikkonen, and he's going to be looking to get past him, and it looks like it's going to be easier. And well, he's got past him before the braking zone, so Kimi Raikkonen, even with DRS, he's too easy for Leclerc. And then his next target will be Lewis Hamilton to get past him. So Leclerc now up to P6, and his next target will be getting past Hamilton for P5. And now we're on lap 5, coming towards the end of this lap, and Vettel is still behind us. So again, we still haven't been able to bring a gap out between ourselves and Vettel. Ricciardo's still behind us, and now it's basically a Schumacher train, because it's down to Hulkenberg, and now Leclerc is going to be closing in once he gets past Hamilton. And now Vettel is really alongside us. Is this a perfect opportunity for Sebastian Vettel to get past us into turn 1? We brake on the inside and we defend our line, and we just get the inside line, and we manage to stay ahead of him. But there's another DRS zone here, but he's got a slow exit out of that chicane, so we're able to have a little breathing space for the time being, and we still lead the race then at this point. We don't have to worry about Sebastian Vettel for a next lap or so. He's still only a couple of attempts behind us, and Ricciardo might be trying to find his way past Vettel himself. But at the moment we still lead this race, but Leclerc is going to be closing in on us because we haven't been able to get a gap out to him. So Leclerc is still going to be in the chance of winning this race, and we've run wide again, and really not being able to get these hypersofts working around this track. So hopefully if we get onto these ultra softs, we'll be able to post in some good laps and be able to perhaps bring out the gap, because the hypersofts really aren't working on our car at the moment, and Vettel is really looking for an opportunity to get past, and surely it's only a matter of time before this pit stop window, which is in the next lap of the race. So we need to get off these hypersoft tyres really because we're really struggling to keep everyone behind us at the moment. As you can see, Leclerc is now in picture and he's catching up with all of us, so he's going to be close enough to actually compete for the win in this race, perhaps, if he can get past Hulkenberg and then Ricciardo and then Vettel, because then I'll be the next target. And we all know how Leclerc has been able to do so far in the last few races. He's been on fire really, and we haven't really been too high a form apart from Japan. But now Vettel, looks like Leclerc has got past Nico Hulkenberg, so Leclerc is up to P4. So now we've got our real work cut out to keep him behind. We're gaining 13 points on Leclerc at this point, so the gap will be 26 points heading into heading to Brazil. But here's the move then on Nico Hulkenberg. Is he going to go to the inside or the outside into turn 1? It looks like he's going to go to the outside instead, and just out brakes him, gets alongside him, and Hulkenberg notices that he's there, and then he gets a better exit out of the chicane, and Hulkenberg has to concede the position. Leclerc flies past him with a better engine and more power to head into the next chicane, and Leclerc's up to P4 before the pit stop window then. And during the pit stop window, he has an opportunity to perhaps take the lead of this race, because we're only a second or so ahead of him now. And moving on to lap 13, we've all pitted now, and Vettel is behind us with Leclerc in P3. And we've actually got a good enough gap ahead of Leclerc, and Leclerc's actually managed to get ahead of Ricciardo at this stage. So heading into turn 1, we've got Leclerc, who's actually gone up to P2 then. So has he managed to overtake Sebastian Vettel? No, he's gone back down to P3, so he's obviously attempted to overtake Vettel there, but it's obviously not gone as well as it should have, because Vettel's now back into P2, and we have to see what happened there in just a second, because now Leclerc's going to be trying to get towards us, and now he's got 15 points at the moment. He's going to be losing 10 points to us, and that will put him 23 points behind. But he locks up trying to overtake Sebastian Vettel and has to settle back in for P3, and now he's got to try and get past Vettel as quickly as possible if he wants to challenge us for the win. And Max Verstappen is also out of the race as well. And Leclerc then has overtaken Sebastian Vettel again on lap 15 of this race as we head into the first few corners of this lap. And has Leclerc managed to make it stick this time? It looks like he perhaps potentially has then. So 4 laps to go. Leclerc has got his work cut out to try and overtake us in this race and try and take points away from us instead of giving us a perfect opportunity to take the title home in Brazil. Now 3 seconds behind us with 4 laps to go. Is he going to be able to close in on us? Here's the overtake then on Sebastian Vettel. He's got DRS, and he's actually going to make it stick before turn 1 this time, just like he did on Raikkonen a few laps ago. Now he's got up into P2 ahead of Sebastian Vettel, and now he's going to be trying to breathe down our necks and take P1 away from us. He's got a lot of pace at the moment, Leclerc, more than we've had in this race, but if only he managed to start better, managed to actually get the better qualifying, he would have been able to fight for this win much earlier on, and perhaps he could have. He'll be regretting that at the end of the season. And now with 2 laps to go, Leclerc is now just 1.2 seconds behind us, and he's going to be closing in on us with just 2 laps to go. We have to make sure that we can keep him behind us, but are we going to be able to do that? We come through the first corner and now the next few corners, and that's pretty much the only overtaking opportunity on this track. It's the first corner, and then the corner coming up here, but there's yellow flags ahead of us. There's actually a slow in Force India of Sergio Perez, so could he get in the way of us perhaps? And Leclerc is now 1.5 seconds behind after sector 1, now coming through sector 2, which is where Leclerc will catch up with us, because we struggle around this part of the track. We're only really good around sector 1, but now there's a slowing car in front of us, so we've got to watch out for the Force India as there's yellow flags coming through here. We go through the next few corners, you can see Sergio Perez will go around him, and no problem there for us, but there's a problem, and Leclerc's getting held up by him, so Leclerc has not been able to get past Sergio Perez. So here's a replay, and you can see why Leclerc is going so slowly. He could have just easily gone past him, but for some reason he went so slowly, and that's cost him dearly in this race, and that's not going to get him past us then. So that gave us some breathing room, and we can settle down for the last lap of the race, and now we can focus on winning this race. And looks like Leclerc's too far back now to challenge us on the last race, and Sergio Perez is actually out of the race now, so he's obviously, his puncture was a bit of a disaster for him, but now we're on the last lap of the race, and surely we can bring it home now. Leclerc's 1.5 seconds behind, Vettel was 2, So Vettel is not able to get past Leclerc then, because Vettel closed in on Leclerc quite closely after Perez held Leclerc up a bit. And now on the last lap of the race then, we'll have a 20-point gap then heading into Brazil if it stays like this on the last lap of the race, which is great news for us. And that means we can have a perfect opportunity of sealing the title in Brazil. And Leclerc really needs to basically just win the last couple of races then, and hope that we don't do too well. And now we're coming around the last section of this track, the last section of this lap, and the last section of this race then, as we come towards the checkered flag, and we're going to take another win this season to win the Mexican Grand Prix, and that's a huge vital win for us, and it extends the gap again between myself and Leclerc in this title fight, and we now have a 20-point gap to ourselves and Charles Leclerc, and that also means Daniel Ricciardo can no longer win the World Championship as well, which means that Ricciardo is too far behind, and Frederick Vasseur, who's getting so used to winning this season after not having any wins last season, we've managed to just dominate the title as well, and surely we must be close enough to winning the Constructors' title as well, with this the amount of 1-2s we've had as well in the recent times, and the wins as well. So we come towards the end of this race then, see how, well, Ricciardo was 5th, so he's too far now behind in the driver standings, and Ocon was 10th, so he got a point for Force India as we go towards the standings then, and we can see the 20-point gap between myself and Leclerc, a 53-point gap to Ricciardo, and then everyone else is just too far behind. So Leclerc getting driver of the day as you'd expect. So he came from P10 to P2 in the end, and now we have actually won the Constructors' title, so Red Bull are too far behind, so we've taken home the Constructors with just 2 rounds to go, so that is a great season for Sauber. Now all that's left to figure out is the Drivers' title, and that will be figured out in just Brazil or Abu Dhabi, and we'll see what happens in those 2 races, and well, we'll see what happens. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in soon for the Brazilian Grand Prix.